another blitz. Hurts takes it right up the gut. Touchdown Eagles. Here's the deep ball. Got hit as he let it go. Oh, Devontae Smith. What a catch. From 54 for the win. On the way. It is there. And the Eagles remain unbeaten.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Flyin podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Mitchell, back with my one and only co-host, Steven Maslij.
What is up, Matt? What is up, ladies and gentlemen?
It's a good week. Came out of Eagles-Cowboys week, one of everybody's favorite weeks of the year, with a huge dub, winning. I had the wrong score.
34-6.
34-6. So, I mean, right off the bat, let's just get your thoughts here. What did you think watching that game?
I love stomping the Cowboys, and I love seeing them fail. Cooper Rush is not good. I don't really feel bad for them at all, though. Zach Bond is fantastic. Bryce Huff finally did something. Our offense looked stagnant in the beginning, but we turned it on. We got the rest of Saquon a little bit. We didn't have to overuse him this game. He's still made one great play that was still memorable, which should have been a 2-yard catch and screen, but still got us down to the 1 for our first touchdown. It was a fun game. I had a lot of fun. The first half wasn't amazing. It wasn't, but are you kidding me? We stomped them. Like, this is going into the half, like, just that Dallas Goddard catch, getting that touchdown. It just kind of, for me, solidified the game of, okay, we got dominance now. Get the ball back and just destroy them. And we did. And I was glad that we were able to step on their throats. And it made me feel very, very good about this team.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, a 34-6 win, no matter the circumstances, is an awesome win, especially when it's against the Cowboys, and especially when we haven't won a game in Dallas in 7 years. So that was huge for the program. Jalen Hurts' first win in Dallas. And I know that a lot of people were a little bit upset with the way the game started. We obviously saw Jalen Hurts throw an interception and lose a fumble, which wasn't exactly fun to watch, but obviously he's been taking really good care of the ball lately. We knew it was going to happen eventually. I wasn't too concerned with it. What did you think about it?
I wasn't too concerned with it at all. I mean, Micah's going to make plays. He's just one of the guys that when he gets to your blind side, it's hard to hang on to that ball. He's one of the best DNs, outside linebackers in the entire league. It's when he gets a free rush at you, it's hard to. He's holding on the ball a little bit too long, if I'm being completely honest. It's hard to critique how he played the rest of the game and recovered from it. So I am very happy about that. The interception, again, it was kind of baited into by Diggs, and I kind of like want to. It's hard because I hate focusing on how negative it was when he ended up playing a really good game and stepping back from it and coming back to his own and playing a great game. So it was a little rocky start, but our defense was immaculate, stepped up great, and then Jalen recovered from it very well. So, and then that's what mattered more to me, that Jalen's recovery from it and see how he reacted after, because he hasn't turned the ball over in 4 games now. So I'm happy with it, and I can't be mad because stuff is going to happen.
I agree. Honestly, I personally felt like that play by Diggs was a really, really good play. When you saw the angle of the camera behind Jalen Hurts and the window that he had for that throw, it was wide open for a split second. But that's the NFL. It's only open for a split second. And Diggs made a play undercutting that ball and got to it. He, full extension, got out there and got the ball. It was a great play by Diggs. I can't deny it. Diggs is a player that does that where he's a ball hawk. He either looks like he makes a terrible play or he makes the big play. And he puts his game on the line doing that. And that's how he makes his living. And it's what's made him so good and controversially bad for the Cowboys. But I personally think he's a good corner. He reminds me of Asante Samuel back in the day for the Eagles, who did a very similar style of either get burnt or get an interception. So, it was definitely a fun game, especially from the defensive side of the ball for the Eagles, holding them to only, I think, 146 yards, which is incredible. Allowing only 6 points. They're slowly becoming one of the best defenses in the league. I think right now they're ranked at 5 or 6 currently. So it's been very impressive to see them turn the ball around and, make that their strong point of the team. Which side of the ball do you think is stronger right now, the defense or the offense?
Ooh. That's a hard position to put someone in.
It's tough. Technically, statistically, they're dead even. If I'm not mistaken, they're both offense and defense. They're both ranked 6th in the league, if I'm not mistaken.
It's everyone healthy and everything. It's offense just because it's just strictly talent on our offense and just the weapons we use. But dude, guys like Zach Bond might be like the best pickup that we had this offseason. We didn't even realize it. Like, it's our linebackers playing well. Seeing that finally happen. Obviously got Mitch Q's playing out of his mind. Cooper DeJean's playing fantastic. Our D-line is my only concern, but at the same time, Jalen Carter's
really been a concern the past few weeks. You're seeing sacks every week now, so it's not like the same defensive line that we watched in the beginning of the year.
I'm not concerned, but look at the O-lines they've gone against. It's not – we're not
playing stellar teams right now. This next 3-game stretch is really going to give us a more surefire sign of what this team actually has to offer and where they stand amongst the better teams. We're going to have the Commanders this Thursday, which is going to be quite a fun matchup. Obviously, the winner of this game takes outright lead of the NFC East. And then going on from them, we go to the Rams, who have had a bit of a rough year, but are finally getting everybody back healthy. And they're a really scary offense when they're playing at full strength. And then we go to the Ravens, who have debatably looked like the best team in the league this year, and Lamar Jackson looking like he's going straight for his 3rd MVP. So it's going to be a lot of big, big tests for both sides of the ball, seeing what we have to offer and, where this team truly stands, because this stretch has been really fun, and they've been beating up on the bad teams the way they're supposed to beat up on the bad teams when you're a good team the way we think they are. But we really haven't seen that true test yet. And truthfully, I thought that the Cowboys were going to be a bigger test than they ended up being. I couldn't have predicted holding Cooper Rush to under 100 yards passing and, absolutely just dominating them through and through. I can't say I was expecting that. And it was beyond pleasantly surprising to get that present. So that was really nice. I do think that this is just something I want to throw out there. I do think that beginning of the game, when the sun was really glaring through the windows, I think that both teams were definitely suffering from that. Obviously, we saw the play where CD didn't see the ball, and that's been a big viral clip this week. And we've seen some comments from Jerry Jones about it that we're going to talk about in a second. But I think it was also really affecting Jalen Hurts. I think that not only would it come into play on a play where he threw the interception or when he's trying to survey the field and hold on to the ball too long, but I felt like you saw a considerable increase in the way he was playing once the sun went down, truthfully. I think the second that sun went down was when the Eagles really started to take off and dominate, and that could be a coincidence or it couldn't be. But what do you think about that?
I'm not reading too much into it. Obviously, I'm not on the field. From our point of view, at times it looked horrific, and it looked like it was definitely affecting their play. But half
the time I saw the camera on Jalen Hurts in the first quarter and a half, he was completely covered in sunlight, straight into his face.
No, it did look bad, but
I personally have to imagine that makes it difficult to survey the field. No,
of course,
I would think so.
I'm not going to give him the full excuse. He didn't really the way he recovered. The way he recovered, you could say that too. I'm not giving the full excuse. Oh, the sun was in the eyes type thing. I can't give that excuse because I would never give that excuse to anybody. Even though I'm
not excusing them from the mistakes they made. I'm just saying that it definitely probably played a factor.
Oh yeah. No, it definitely did on both sides. But yeah, the offense we're glaring right into it. Yeah.
But going back to the Jerry Jones comments, this was something I wanted to talk to you about because I find it absolutely hilarious that obviously CD lost the ball in the sun. It's become a viral clip, and he talked about the fact that he wishes there were some curtains up there or something. And it's something to be noted that for outside events that aren't sporting events, they do put curtains on those windows to prevent sunlight from coming in. So they have the curtains. They choose not to use them. Now, let me pull up this quote from Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones on 105.3 The Fan, his radio show that he jumps on every week, where he's already made a fool out of himself this year. He went on and said, I don't want to adjust it for one reason, and it's because it's an advantage to us. What do you have to say about those comments?
He's a clown. he's a silly goose. The fact that he's just a horrible owner and person in general. It's
honestly almost hard to believe sometimes. I mean, when you look at the track record of what he's done just this year, right? Go into the season, he's holding out on CeeDee Lamb. It becomes a whole thing throughout training camp that he's holding out and he won't play. Then he says he's not going to give him the money. Then he waits until every other receiver gets signed. And then ponies up and gives CD the biggest contract in wide receiver history. Then he goes on to Dak, who he outright said doesn't think he can win with. He outright said it multiple times, actually. He's even said it again, doubled down on it this year, which I'm getting to. But either way, says that he can't go past the divisional round with Dak Prescott. And he makes him the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. Great. Team's falling apart. Everybody's getting hurt. Jerry Jones made no moves in the offseason to get better, and it clearly showed. And then Dak goes down. You put Cooper Rush in. And that's when he comes back and doubles down again when they said, with Dak out and what you just saw from Cooper Rush, does it make you realize what you had in Dak? And he was like, we had 3 wins with Dak. I don't know if you guys know how to count. And he really made it harsh. Like, he really, So he's continuing to talk crap on the quarterback that he just paid $60 million a year to. And then he doesn't want to put curtains up because an advantage to his team, even though we've witnessed them struggle with it multiple times this year, and it's clearly also a disadvantage to his team.
I hope he stays.
How do you think he would fare in Philadelphia as Philadelphia's GM?
He would be dead already. I would have killed him. I hope he stays at.
I hope he never retires. I really do.
I hope he stays there forever, dude. I hope that.
I never thought there would be a day when I would be sitting here kind of feeling bad for Cowboys fans. Like, I genuinely see his comments every other, week or two, and I'm like, man, I just can't imagine having to put up with that every week.
No, you don't feel bad for them because the second they're good again, they will not feel bad for you. So
That's
you
fair.
do not
It's
ever feel bad.
It's only a sneaking thought. It's just, he has had so many moments this year. Not to mention, I forgot to mention when he went on the radio show and told them not to do their job and told him not to question anything he does. That was also really funny.
And that'll have him fired because he can do anything.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I mean,
it's awesome.
I've never seen such an ego from anyone in my life. And we watched Terrell Owens at one point. I mean, it's pretty nuts.
Dude, I just hope he stays there forever. He's awful.
I do too. I really do too.
Yeah,
and then the last thing we'll jump into before we move on to the Commanders is Micah Parsons after the game talking about Mike McCarthy. And obviously, I feel like anyone with a brain can understand what he was trying to say, and it did get twisted in a way that he probably didn't mean it. But the words came out of his mouth. They sounded bad. Everybody heard it. Instead of apologizing, he kind of doubled down on it. What do you think about Micah Parsons and his podcast and his comments?
He's frustrated, obviously, and then he has to go on a podcast and talk about every other team that's doing better than him, and then talk about the game that he just got stomped by a divisional opponent. It's obviously frustrating.
Hold on. He doesn't have to do anything. This is a podcast of his own making.
Oh yeah, he's an idiot.
He's his own boss.
I would not. He would not have a mic in his hand if he was from Philadelphia. He would not be able to handle the hate. No, you can't have a mic in your. Yeah, this is all his own fault. I'm just saying he came on frustrated and whatnot, and it's all on him. This is all on him. He's again, this is just good for the Cowboys for doing this. Like I would be very upset if Micah came here and shat on Sirianni. Like say he was here like week 4 during the Browns game when he's chirping fans and stuff, and Micah goes on his podcast and just starts like saying stuff about Sirianni. That would suck. Like we don't need that.
It could become a reality next year.
I know him and Saquon all smirking and talking to each other.
Just saying, keep it.
But yeah, Micah's he does what he wants. I mean, he can. I don't know why he chooses to do that stuff. I don't know if he thinks before he speaks. I know he likes to talk about everything essentially, but it's.
To be fair, the Eagles didn't do it nearly as bad as it's looking for the Cowboys last. Like when we look at last year Eagles to this year's Cowboys, it's kind of a similar thing outside of they were never good to start off. But like obviously coming into this year, they were expected to be a top tier team and then to struggle the way they have. They're doing the same thing that the Eagles did last year where everything starts to fall apart. Everybody starts to blame each other. Nobody knows who's at fault. And we did the same thing, just a little more controlled than they're doing it. They're definitely a little bit like they're doing it openly and publicly a little bit too far. The Eagles were at least doing it behind closed doors, but we all knew it was happening.
Yeah, I mean, at least we got 10 wins.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Well, I mean, obviously it made it worse in the end, but like their season's donezo. Like that's it.
But on the other hand, at least they're going to get a top draft pick out of it. We went to the playoffs and just watched it crumble apart. That might have hurt worse. We got nothing out of that.
Hey, it's all right because Jerry Jones chooses who they draft, so he'll probably choose Genty, which is
darn right. Which is not. I mean, hey, I was going to say the same thing. He probably is going to choose Genty, and also funny thing. I just want to point out while we're talking about it. I was at the bar this weekend and I had some guys asking me who the best college football player I've gotten to watch was. And I was like thinking about it for a minute. I didn't think about it very long. And I was like, I can't lie. Ashton Jonty's got to be up there. And they were like, oh, you're a young bull. You didn't watch football. You've never been a college football fan. They didn't even know who Ashton Jonty was.
Dude, I mean,
I had to pull up
now or ever. Like, are they saying ever?
They're saying who they asked who I watched.
Oh, well.
So, like, I haven't watched college football for a super long time. You could obviously say Derrick Henry. You could say Joe Burrow.
Cam Newton.
I didn't personally watch Cam Newton.
I watched.
So, like, I mean, I could have mentioned it and played it off like that. But, like, Tim Tebow, I did. Florida used to be my favorite team growing up, and I did pay attention to them. But other than that, I didn't watch a whole lot of college football. So, I mean,
Smitty, like, in college was – when he won the Heisman was unbelievable.
That he was. But, hey, man, I've never seen a running back average 10 yards per carry before. I've never seen anything like it.
Barry Sanders, he's never going to – but the thing is, Genty can't even break Barry Sanders' record because it's so ridiculous.
It's so insane what that – Barry Sanders, I will stand on it until the day I die. I don't know that there will ever be a better running back than Barry Sanders. And
dude,
the crazy part is we never even got to see him. He played a short career, and he's top 3 in rushing all time. There is no question that he is the best running back to ever play football.
Dude, I mean, I'm looking at Genty, and I'm like, there's no way he's not close. Dude, Genty has to get like 900 yards in like 3 or 4 games in order to break his record. Like, and is it doable? Yeah, but
it's because Genty's doing it all on the ground. Barry was a ground end receiver.
But he only had 105 yards receiving when he did the 2,600 on the ground, which is crazy.
Wait, did he really? Jeez.
It's insane. I looked it up yesterday. I couldn't believe it myself.
That's incredible. But either way, it's pretty incredible stuff what we're seeing over there, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Jerry Jones take him. But either way,
regardless,
I will stand on the fact that there's almost never a situation where you should take a running back with a first-round pick.
Other than Saquon, because he's a god, and I would love
even Saquon. And I as much as I love Saquon, I don't think I ever would have agreed with taking him with the number 5 pick the way he was. Or he was the number 2 pick, wasn't he?
He was the top 5, top 6. I don't know.
Either way, I don't think there's ever a great a great argument for taking a running back top 5, even one as good as Saquon Barkley, because it's the same conversation that we had in the offseason when running back market was down and whatnot. Obviously, you see what these guys can do, and they obviously do bring a huge impact to the team when they're as good as a Saquon Barkley. But running backs are incredibly replaceable. Even if you were to go from Saquon to Kenny Gainwell, yes, you'd see a decline, but it wouldn't be an impossible fix. Like if you didn't have a left tackle, like a good left tackle, you would notice it every single game. If you didn't have a great running back, you wouldn't notice it every game. It is a better way to put it.
So you're fine with using Kenny Gainwell over Saquon? Then.
No, Maz, that's not my point.
We could bet Saquon. It doesn't matter.
But there's more important positions to take.
It doesn't matter. We could bet Saquon. He's fine. He's fine. Just shut him out there. We could bet Saquon for take a game off.
Anyway.
No, I agree with you. Let's get into another great college quarterback, and his name's Jayden Daniels, that we're facing on Thursday Night Football. Dude, they're coming into our city. They're coming off a hard loss to Pittsburgh. That was a very tight game. They actually ended up losing 27-28. They're 7-3 on the year. What do you think of this Commanders team, and how much did they scare you coming into this game?
Well, I've felt the same way about them all year, and I felt the same way about them before the year, where I personally felt like they were going to be better than people expected them to be. And I can't say that I expect them to be as good as they are now, but I don't think they're playing at a level that I didn't expect out of them either. Like, I'm a little surprised at how many wins they've managed to pull out. Not based off of like what I've seen. Like, they are beating teams. Like, it's not like they're not beating teams, but I see the flaws there still. I think they still have some things to clean up. I think that they sometimes have trouble when they get down to the red zone. And I don't think that their defense is anything crazy. I do think that Jayden Daniels is prolific. I think that what he's doing out there, we've only ever seen probably one other time from a rookie quarterback, and that being Robert Griffin III, another Washington quarterback. And they have virtually identical stats in every way. And it's very similar. I mean, RG3 was one of the best rookie quarterbacks I've ever seen, and Jayden Daniels is on the exact same pace, and he's taken them to a completely different level and clearly elevated the demeanor in the locker room. This was a team coming into the season defeated, not expecting anything, and he walked into the building and changed all the expectations. And you can't really say that about a lot of rookies, let alone any players in the league. So it's definitely impressive what they've done this year and what they've been able to do. And this is absolutely the biggest test that we've had so far this year, by all means. Like we mentioned earlier, outright winner of this becomes the leader of the division. So it's a huge, huge game for us and could change the entire outcome of the rest of the season. So this is definitely a must-win game. And to me, I do think that it's very, very doable. With the way that our defense has been playing lately, I do think that we'll be able to hold them at least low enough that our offense can continue, as long as the offense continues to produce the way that they have been. The offense has really been putting up points lately. I mean, I've been really impressed with both sides of the ball from the Eagles, and they really feel like they're starting to – I shouldn't keep saying that because I've said that the past 2 weeks. They're not coming into their own. They're into their own at this point. I think that they have found their stride and that they are where they need to be. And as long as they can stay consistent in that, standing on what I said last week, I don't think there's a lot of teams in the league that can beat them when they're playing that way. So I do think that the Commanders have enough holes in their game that the Eagles can take advantage of it. But by no means do I think this is going to be an easy game, and I think that it's going to end up being pretty close to a shootout.
Before I get into Terry McLaurin owning us, do you have – does playing these teams give you any blindness? Like Jacksonville's obviously a losing team record. The Cowboys, Giants are the worst team in the NFL, which you said earlier. Cleveland's one of the worst teams in the NFL. Cincinnati their defense is god awful, but they still whatever. They're still a losing record. Mm-hmm. Do playing these 5 teams after the bye give you a little? Do you think we're too blind to the fact that we've been able to not play a dominant run game, or obviously Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, but regardless of that, there hasn't playing like the lack of talent that we have, do you think we're getting blind at all in taking a step too far, saying that we are like a Super Bowl contender?
No, not at all. I mean, they passed the eye test to me. The eye test is obviously something you can't really describe. It's not something that has any credentials. It's just something when you watch the team, you can really tell if they're a good team or not. And to me, they passed the eye test, both sides of the ball. They didn't early on. I think that they had a lot of things to figure out and, get tied in to really find their rhythm. And I think that they found that by midseason, and that bye week really came at a perfect time for them to get healthy, figure out those weaknesses, and turn them into strengths. And I think they did that. And I know we've played a few bad teams here, but the schedule is the schedule. We don't get to make the schedule. And it's the same thing for everybody else in the league. And to be fair, there's a lot of bad teams in the league this year, a lot of teams that are struggling this year. There's not a lot of really good teams throughout the league right now. And I think that going in and handling these teams the way that we have been gives me enough. Like, we're not just going in there and rubbing out a close win against these teams. We've been going in and handling business. And even the Jaguars game, if they don't get that, that handed touchdown to them, and if you look at the stats, we dominated that game through and through. The only one you could really say that we struggled in was the Browns game. And that one was, I think, right on the cusp of them trying to finding their stride. So honestly, the way that they've handled these lesser teams that they've played against, holding the Bengals, who have been a prolific offense this year, despite their defense not being able to keep up. We held them to 17 points. The Cowboys to 6. I think that they're doing more than enough to prove to me that they can hang with anybody in the league. And to me, that doesn't even really matter that much. When you look at a team like the Chiefs that are 9-0, they're barely scratching by wins. But is anybody concerned about them keeping it up? Not really. Getting a win in the NFL is enough. And unfortunately for Philly fans just love to see that decisive blowout win to really feel comfortable. But I don't even think that's truly necessary. I think it was only necessary a couple times this year due to the fact that we watched the collapse that we did last season. So, and I think we've gotten that. So I'm personally confident, but let me hear what you have to say about it. I've been talking for a while.
No, I'm really confident in this team. I need to see this game, honestly, in order to do anything, because this Washington team kind of reminds me of not a top tier team, but like a Tampa Bay. I'll be honest. They really do remind me of Tampa Bay, like mid defense.
It's a pretty good comparison.
Like just because they have that, like that. Yeah, the running backs aren't fantastic, but Brian Robinson has done good. Eckler has done nothing, but like back, like kind of mid. They got Scary Terry, who's averaging in a whole 10 years 10 games against the Eagles that he's played in his career. He's averaging on average has 84.5 yards on 6 receptions, and he has 5 touchdowns out of the 10 games that he's played against us. He plays really well against the Eagles.
He does kill us.
Like, and that's just averages. Like, that's through 10 games, man. Like, that's insane. Like, obviously the most recent,
even when they were a bad team, he would torch us,
dude, for no reason.
But in return, I feel that this is the most comfortable I felt at cornerback in all those years that we've played Terry.
This might be the most comfortable I felt at cornerback ever in my Eagles life.
Agreed.
But I need to. I honestly, I'm very excited. I personally think that I'm calling for the Super Bowl now. I think that we're Super Bowl contenders all the way up top, especially like you said, if we play at our peak. I do need to see I just need to see it. I just need to see it to believe it. I know it in my heart of hearts that we have the talent to it and that we definitely can. I just need to see our defense. Honestly, I think our offense is. I love our offense. You asked me earlier, offense or defense. I trust 100% more if you given going down to get a touchdown or stopping a touchdown for the final drive of the game. I'd rather have the ball in our offense's hands.
Agreed.
What do you think about that?
I think I'd have to agree. I mean, personally, we've also seen that. I think that
the collapse against the Falcons.
Not just the collapse against the Falcons. This kind of goes into what we've watched from the Eagles for a lot of years. And when they are in a situation where and it hasn't just been one coach to the other. Like, it's been every coach. I don't know why it's been an Eagles thing forever. I guess it's mostly a league-wide thing, but the Eagles seem to do it worse than anybody else, in my opinion. Is that they run into that prevent defense when they're trying to stop a touchdown. Like, when they're in a situation where they can allow a touchdown, but they have to stop a touchdown, or, they just have to stop a touchdown, they go into a prevent defense and a bend, don't break mentality. And I've always hated it. And I feel like the Eagles are always terrible at executing that. And I don't think there's any level of defense that would make me confident in them having to stop a touchdown at the end of the game. Even whether they do it or not, I can't say I'd be like sitting there like, I'm not worried about this. So
I mean,
I think I'd have to agree that I can be confident and sit there and think Jalen and that offense can run down the field and score a touchdown or score points when they need to.
No, but I'm very excited. But my key for this game is going to be our defense and how we key in on Jayden Daniels. I'm very confident though. In this game, I feel like the Commanders aren't a top echelon team in this league. I'm more scared of the Niners personally in the NFC than the Commanders.
I agree.
Even though the Niners have been banged up and whatnot, but like it's just this roster is decent. And they have been very well coached, and all credit to them. Jayden Daniels has been playing amazing, like an MVP caliber, not even just offensive rookie of the year. Like, he's been playing like a top 4 MVP type guy in the conversation for a reason. But yeah, I'm very confident going in this game. I really don't think their defense is anything crazy. I mean, how old is Bobby Wagner now? Like,
yeah, he's definitely up there in age. That's for sure.
He's 35 years old. Like I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, this Commanders team, I don't know, man. I'm just not sold on them yet.
Been a beast for them.
I obviously see what they have. I see the talent. I see the potential there. I think that they still have a lot to grow into. They're obviously a young team with a young quarterback leading the way. And I think that they're well on their path to being a top tier team. But I haven't seen that entirely this year yet. I mean, in 2 games against the Giants, they've almost lost both of them. They almost lost to the Bears. They obviously really handled the Panthers. But, they let up 33 points to the Bengals. And these are teams that we've played against that we didn't see a problem with. Obviously each game is different, and that's not exactly the greatest comparison in the world, but the teams they've played that we have also played, we handled better than they have this year. So that gives me a slight boost in confidence, not to mention that I feel like we do just have more experience on this team than they do, and we're more primed for the big moment than they are, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
I do feel confident in this game. And I do think that this is one that, I don't know, man. It's just going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And I do think the biggest key to this game is, like you said, the defense and keeping Jayden Daniels in the pocket, not letting him run all over us and pick up 8-yard gains, 15-yard gains off of a scramble. We're going to have to see another big game out of our linebackers and Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond, making sure that he stays in the pocket, making sure he doesn't escape too often, and make sure he sits back there and has to throw the ball. And it's not like Jayden Daniels has some sloppy arm that we want him just throwing the ball. But if you can take away one dimension of his game, then it just gives you an advantage more so than the teams that we've seen him, run all over. So I do think that a key to winning this game is making sure you keep Jayden Daniels in the pocket and not let him beat you with his legs.
Dude, I did not know Dante Fowler had 8.5 sacks this year. I don't know about you. He's third in the league behind Trey Henderson and Dexter Lawrence, which we both played against. And our O-line's been playing great. I just wanted to bring up the O-line because I didn't know if you knew the status of Jordan Mailata. I knew he was kind of just trying to test it out during the week. Fred Johnson was playing fantastic. I'll give him all his roses, but I don't know if Jordan Mailata is going to play. And do you even want him playing if he's not 100% healthy out there?
Well, it's hard to say. It really depends. To me, I'm not going to lie, the fact that they took him off of the IR and put him in the practice window and immediately said that there's a chance that he's going to play this Thursday makes me think that he is healthy. Like the fact that he came right off the IR and said that he'll be ready for a Thursday game makes me think that he is ready and healthy. But like you said, on the opposite end, what we don't get to know is if he's not, then I would be fine with him sitting for another game because we've been working okay with Fred Johnson. And although you said Dante Fowler is one of the top sack guys in the league right now, they don't have somebody on their team that makes me feel like we have to switch anything up to, take something out of the game. So if it's going to have to be, on the coaches to decide, what they think is necessary. If you ask me, I'd be fine with him sitting one more week and then getting him out of there next week. You get a 10-day window. I think that would probably be the best case scenario. But this is, like we said, kind of a must-win game. It's going to decide a lot going into the stretch of the season. So if you think that he's healthy enough to give you an advantage, then yeah, put him on the field.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, the 5 sacks that Dallas got against us were mostly.
I think at least 4 of those were Jalen holding the ball too.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, if you watched it, it was okay. Here's 4.5 seconds, Jalen. If you don't get it out, I'm sorry. I can't block Micah that much longer. He's got to get it.
He truly was holding on to the ball way too long, and I hope that he addresses that this week. And I'm sure he will because we've talked about multiple times this year when we have a problem with what we've been seeing out of this team. They are pretty good about addressing it and fixing it for the next week. So I'm hoping that Jalen – and honestly – throughout that game, I saw Jalen start to do better with it. He started throwing the ball away more when he was getting into trouble and making sure that he wasn't taking the sack late in the game. So I think that we'll see a more refined Jalen in that category. And hopefully we see him keep taking care of the ball. And defense is going to have to do their job because this is a very good offense.
All right, one last question before I get into how this game's going to go in score prediction. Given that the last 3 games that we played at home, we almost let Jacksonville back in. We kind of only won by 4 against Cleveland and then lost against Atlanta. Do you think being at home is worse an advantage for us as the Eagles?
Of course not, man. I mean,
I can't ask that question with a straight face.
I mean, obviously, Philadelphia, when their teams are playing well, I would say Philadelphia is probably one of the scariest places to be in sports nationally. I'm not going to go international because I don't know enough. I know that there's plenty of crazy soccer fans over there. But I do think that if you've got a Philadelphia team rolling, it's probably the scariest place in America to go play sports. So for the other team, not for us. So I do think that a lot of those games were while we were finding our stride so far. And that Atlanta game, obviously, if our running back doesn't drop, obviously there's more than just that play, but if our running back doesn't drop that ball that he catches 9 out of 10 times, that game isn't a loss.
Yeah, Kenny Gainwell should have been in on that play.
Right? Yeah, exactly what I was thinking, actually.
Sorry, last shot of – I'm never bringing that up again. That was just my last and only time saying that.
We've got a real comedian on our hands over here.
Wasn't even the discussion. I kind of just took your words out of context, even though I knew the context of it. All right, regardless, how do you see this game going, and what is your final score prediction?
I do think that it's going to be a little bit of a shootout. It's definitely going to be a close game. I think it's going to come down to the wire for sure. Like I said, I think if we see our linebackers keeping Jayden Daniels in the pocket and our pass rush, of course, keeping Jayden Daniels in the pocket, we're going to see a win here, and maybe even more decisive of a win than I'm going to say here. But I'm going to actually go 31-28 coming down to the wire. I'm thinking even a game-winning field goal potentially at the end of the game. But I do have the Eagles winning.
Called a yard of distance now so that we can clip it.
The yard and distance, yeah, I mean, I would have to do some math for both of those, but I'm going to say that they'll be kicking it from – it'll be like a – we're going to say like a 47-yard field goal.
Wow. You heard it here, guys. That's how he win the game.
Yeah.
Jake Elliott walks us off into the night, which he's done plenty of times.
I hope it gets clipped, and like that would be a pretty crazy prediction. So
hey, I just had to get that, especially if it's on the 47-yard line. That's insane. I think that I think we're going to dominate this team. I really think that we're going to put up points on this team. I don't think the Steelers' offense is good whatsoever, and they were able to put up 4 touchdowns.
I think that's a little crazy. I think you're going to come back and regret saying that about the Steelers because Steelers are, honestly, I think much better than they're getting credit for. Russell Wilson has already thrown in 3 games. Has already thrown. He's 1 touchdown away from being the highest touchdown scorer since Ben Roethlisberger. In 3 games.
Wait, what? Oh,
he has thrown at like. I have to think about the
6
right
touchdowns that he's thrown.
It's going to be the most since Ben Roethlisberger played from a Steelers quarterback, which is basically just Kenny Pickett. But either way, it's been 3 games, and they're doing good. All right. It wasn't my best defense, but I am saying here the Steelers might be better than everybody thinks they are. But continue regardless.
I think that I don't think the Washington defense is that great, and I really want our offense to be very dominant in this game. So I'm going to go 37-24. I think we're going to smoke them on offense. I'm really excited to see A.J. Brown come back and do what he did last time, but it's not Forbes anymore, which I wish he was still there because then he would have 3 touchdowns. But I mean, he still cooked Latimer in the Saints game. I really want this offense to get like really dominant win, but obviously we played really well last week. But I think we can. I really think that we could kill this team, and I want to see our defense step up. Obviously, it's more important on defense. It's probably gonna be a closer game. Divisional matchups are insane. I mean, you saw the Saints beat the Falcons last week. Like the Saints have nobody.
It was pretty ridiculous, but you know.
0 sense, but that's just how divisional games are and how it goes. So I'm calling for a blowout, but I always call for blowouts, and I'm usually wrong.
I don't think it's unfair to think when this Eagles team, despite how good it feels like they're becoming, it feels like we still have yet to see them at absolute top potential. It feels like they still make some pretty stupid mistakes here and there and prevent themselves from reaching their full potential and what they can actually do with every game. And it feels like, honestly, in my mind, it feels like if we see them just play in like a literal, like if we were ever to see them play a perfect game through and through where, you know, Jalen Hurts throws for a 75 completion percentage with like 3-4 touchdowns, you know, Saquon, the running game is working, the defense holds their own. Like, I feel like you could see like a 50 to like, you know, 50-3, 50-14 kind of win like out of this team.
Wait. He ran for 3 touchdowns, passed for 80%, and threw a touchdown against Cincinnati. It was 37-17. It's pretty good.
Yeah, but if you throw for 3 touchdowns, then you're probably also throwing for like over 250, 280 yards. So, and I think that if you combine that kind of game with a good rushing game from Saquon, which we've seen a lot of, then, you know, I think it's obviously insanely wishful thinking. I'm just saying a hypothetical here, maybe a little bit stupid of a hypothetical. Point being is I feel like they haven't reached their full potential, and I'm excited to see if they can. If I'm going to see a game where I'm just going to be like, wow, like that was a perfect win.
That's fair. If they have a game like that, they will be sitting the entire 4th quarter because we will put up 60 points in the first half.
It was a pretty bad hypothetical. I'm getting a little bit wishful today.
But I know, but I'm excited for this game still. It's a huge game, and obviously Thursday Night Football. Going into Thursdays, just right before we wrap up, I meant to ask this question before. Being a college athlete, did any of like how do you prepare for a game on a short week against a really good team? Do you reinstall like everything, or is it just all sped up? Like how do they go into this game on a short week, just like preparing for a team like the Commanders with a prolific offense and prolific quarterback?
Well, I mean, I'd like to say that my college experience could help me in that situation, but we always played on Saturdays no matter what. So I never personally got to deal with a short week where we had to just figure it out and get it moving. But at the same time, I would imagine if I had to guess, that they probably have a pretty, out of one of the two, Monday or Tuesday, they probably have a pretty intense practice for one of those days. And that Wednesday, because that you got to assume that Wednesday day is pretty much going to be a walkthrough.
Yeah, it has to be.
So you might see one or two really hard days where they just really go at it and make sure they're really drilling it in. But I don't think you prepare anything super differently. I mean, it's hard to determine how much new information they're putting in every week and how much they're changing. But if you think you can run a game plan back and, run the same system, then nothing's really changing. You're just kind of sharpening your iron. You know what I mean?
Hey, it's awesome that number 5 said the exact same thing on the radio as what you just said. So that was kind of cool.
Really?
He actually said like pretty much word for word.
That's kind of crazy because that was off the dome. I didn't hear that.
That was very interesting. Now, I mean, that's where I got the question from. I was never going to bring up Donovan's answer to it, but that's where I got the question from. Is Fritzy asking that? But yeah, it was good for you, man. I'll give you. Yeah, that was cool. That was a good answer, and I think that's very accurate.
It probably, I can only go off of what it would just be guessing. And
yeah, it makes sense
on what they feel like they have to work on. If there's a specific point that they felt like they struggled with last week that they really want to drill into the work, they'll probably put a lot of work into that in one of those days. But otherwise, they're probably just gonna keep rolling with what they always roll with, and kind of. I don't want to say hope for the best, but it's like can't really do a whole lot with 2 days. There's not a lot of preparation that goes into that, and there's not for the other team either. So you're kind of just rolling with last week's game plan and hoping it works out probably.
I mean, but let's hope it rolls again.
Man. I mean, they're obviously going to have a few things here and there that they've obviously been looking at on film that they're going to key in on and try to drill in these 2 days that they have to work. But yeah, not a lot of preparation can be put into the days that they have. So it'll be interesting to see if you are going to see, something instilled that you feel like, wow, they game planned that for this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, completely agree. And I'm very excited. Thursday Night Football.
This is going to change the trajectory of the entire season. Not just for us, but for the NFC entirely. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Very exciting.
So thank you guys, as always, for tuning in this week. We always appreciate you guys stopping by. If you did enjoy what we had to say today, please like this video. And if you want to hear what we have moving forward, subscribe to the channel. We always appreciate you guys for both liking and subscribing and just stopping in if you just want to view it out and hear what we have to say. So thank you guys. Thank you. And we will be back again next week with our weekly review and preview of next week's game. So make sure you stop back in, and we will have more updates for you coming into next week. So stay tuned. Thanks again. And hopefully we can come back to you with a big first place win here. So go Birds.
Let's go Birds.